Hey guys, Tom here from Metalloud, and in case you haven't seen it, Say Anything has released their new album out of absolutely nowhere. I was not expecting this. I don't think anybody was really expecting this, but it is out. It is available to listen to right now on streaming through YouTube on with their website, and it's going to be out tomorrow on like Spotify and iTunes and all that. And I think they have a physical medium CDs, stuff like that, albums, vinyl, and their whatever's coming out later on. But it is available right now to listen to and stream. And I was hoping that this would be something, I expected this to kind of come out towards the summer or even, a few months from now. So I wasn't really prepared for this. As you know, I've been doing my Say Anything review series. I was hoping to kind of cap it all off with this. So this is going to be technically part 8 of the Say Anything review series for their brand new album called I Don't Think It Is. Let me start by saying that this album is weird, and I mean that in a fantastic way. Its weirdness is something that really kind of contributes to why I think this album is really going to stand out in their discography and stand out in general in the music scene today. It's still got a lot of the classic elements of Say Anything that we've come to expect, particularly with Max Bemis's lyricism on this album. There's some fantastic lines on here, and there's a lot of gang choruses that were kind of missing and it'll be previous albums as well. And I'm probably one of the few people who really, really liked Hebrews. I know a lot of people may have liked it, but I really liked Hebrews and enjoyed it. And I thought it really was some of their best work, despite the lack of guitars, which I know, again, a lot of people had an issue with. The guitars are back on I Don't Think It Is, and they really kind of emphasize this album as well. I think it was a great decision to bring them back. Hebrews was fantastic despite the lack of, the other elements definitely stood out on that album because of it, but here we get to talk about what they've done with the guitar work on here, which is just some really fantastic, oftentimes bordering on math rock sounds, and a lot of classic Say Anything elements I feel like we're missing off of the last couple albums are brought back for this. Particularly one of the issues I had with both Anarchy My Dear and Hebrews was the vocal delivery, and this whole song structure felt a little bit too simplistic and too forward from what we were used to from Say Anything. And here we definitely get it brought back. One of the things that's always attracted me to Say Anything in their earlier years and in general is the fact that you can listen to a song and start the song and skip ahead a couple, minute or two, and you almost like listening to a completely different song. They go from slow to fast to, to fast, even faster, or it starts off with a rock sound and then brings in electronics and almost like hip hop and almost spoken word at times. And they've really always done that with such finesse that it doesn't feel too weird or too out there, and it doesn't feel like it's out of place or that it was never designed to be like that they just, it never feels like they were just throwing everything at a song and hoping something stuck. It felt like these songs were designed specifically with those parts in mind, particularly tracks like Admit It. That's exactly what I'm talking about, where you start listening to that song and then you skip forward and it's something completely different. And we get a ton of those tracks on this album, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. It definitely it recaptures a lot of what I loved about Say Anything, and I feel like what a lot of people liked about it, just that weirdness that they've had and that kind of just off the wall music structure that they've had, where it's always been, never actual, like, even on here, actually, I would say a lot of guitar work especially is kind of like math rock, but it's got these weird distorted guitars often, and the vocal work at times. I thought it was going to be a production issue where some of the vocals felt like tinny a bit, but it actually is part of the song, because you can hear in other tracks that the vocals are perfectly clear. So I really think that was a decision, and it was a good decision. It really does fit in, and there's just a lot on here, a lot to love, and you know, listening to it just forward and back again, I really think that they kind of have definitely kind of brought back classic Say Anything elements that were kind of missing a little bit, and I think it's going to attract a lot of their fans who kind of are stuck on Is a Real Boy. It's not quite there. It's not the same sound. You're definitely different in sound, but I think a lot of the elements that people found themselves attracted to are there. You have songs on here like the opening track, Give a Damn, which actually has the fan vocals. A while back, Max Bemis actually asked people to submit their own vocals. You know, he sent out like a Word document or something with what to do, but he had people submit them in and actually feature them on that track and a chant on the song Give a Damn, and it's just fantastic with that chanting chorus in there, and it really kicks things off right away. You know what the sound is back, and the next song on the album, called 17 Coked Up Speeding, is just pure indie rock bliss with that kind of math rock flair that they've generally always had. And I know he said he worked with Cody from Blood Brothers, definitely a kind of screamo math rock band, and it really shows on that track and a few other tracks as well. And you have, for instance, a song Rum, which starts off, talking about with the change-ups, it starts off really kind of slow and almost sounds like Max crying at the beginning, though he's not. It's just what the sound starts off initially when it hits you. It starts off kind of slow, and then it just speeds up and it brings in these electronics and stuff, and it's just great to hear that, and it really does sound like Say Anything. That's really what people think of when they think of Say Anything as a band, that just mix of everything in there. And like I said, this is the beginning. This is a weird album. It's very experimental. I know probably there's going to be people who do not like it strictly because of how weird it is. And while a lot of the songs are definitely more traditional in a sense, there's songs like Attaboy, which is just 7 minutes long, and it starts off with this like chanting and this like pounding drum beat. It almost sounds like a war chant, and then it goes into the soft, more, you know, breaks everything down, and then you hear just somebody kind of screaming in the background, you know, and then that's kind of how the song ends after 7 minutes, and it's just such a weird song, and it really, again, is what I was talking about, where you start listening to a song and skip ahead and it's a completely different song, and Attaboy is like a perfect example of that, as well as the last track on the album, which again does the same thing but to a lesser degree. And just overall, I really think that this whole album, musically especially, is definitely different than anything they've done before, and at the same time it manages to feel familiar with those elements, and he's really kind of taken what it is to be a Say Anything song or album and just gone crazy with it in the best way possible. And so far I really think that, again, I think I can see this being a very divisive album. You're going to have people who, again, you're going to have the people who this Is a Real Boy and are just immediately going to dismiss it because it doesn't sound exactly like Is a Real Boy. You're going to have people who do not like the weirdness of the album, and if you're that kind of person, the weirdness I totally understand. It's very much out there. I enjoy that. I like that he's taking a risk with this. It really does pay off on a lot of this. Sometimes it's kind of an acquired taste. I would say probably you might have to listen to a song a few times, or there might be parts you want to skip over to get to other parts of it. But I like that he took that risk. They took that risk on this album, and it to me it pays off a lot, because it doesn't sound like everything else that everyone else is putting out, and at the same time it sounds like Say Anything, which is great to me. I love the distorted guitars on here. I love the offbeat everything. I love the aggressiveness of the vocals on here. It's definitely a more, if you've been wanting Max to go back to kind of a more, not screaming, he never really was a screamer, but a more aggressive sound that he had, this is the album back for you. Hebrews saw a little bit of that on there. There definitely were points where you heard that, but this is a very aggressive album, and I love it for it. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel unnatural. It really does feel like he's back, in a sense. I don't want to say he's back, because it never really felt like he went anywhere. I love Hebrews, like I said, so I that's where I'm coming from on this. If you didn't like Hebrews, and that experimentation was probably even less than it is on here. I mean, those were still very normally structured songs, and here it's just off the wall, throwing everything at it. And again, I like the risk. I personally think that a lot of that works on these songs, and again, I can understand why that might put some people off. That's totally understandable. It may not be for you, but that said, if you can get past that, I'm sure you're going to find something on here you love, because not all of it is experimental. There's a lot of tracks that are fairly straightforward in their sound and design. They're catchy. There's a little bit of poppiness to some of them, with some of the melodies and the choruses and things like that. Some of the chanting choruses, particularly the song Give a Damn, I would say it's probably going to be a single, not just because of the fan element, but also because of the way the song is written and structured. I can definitely see that becoming a fairly popular single off of this album. So overall, this, I don't think it is, really just came out of absolutely nowhere, and I think that was probably the best thing for it, because it just goes with the way the album sounds and just how weird it is, how out there and how experimental the whole thing is. And I really enjoy the fact that this was just kind of sprung on us. I do like when bands do that sometimes, because you're not prepared for it, so you don't know what to expect. There's no build up to it. It's just there for you to listen to. So I'm glad that he kind of did that. And honestly, I'm definitely going to be listening to this more, but I think this may become one of my favorite Say Anything albums so far. And again, I keep saying this, but I enjoyed Hebrews a lot, and I am very much, I hope their fans are willing to kind of look past the fact that this is a Real Boy and give it a chance. And I mean, if any album past Is a Real Boy sounds like Is a Real Boy, this is probably the closest that they've come in just overall outright sound, as well as just the elements underneath the surface that kind of create everything. This is the closest that they probably have made it. So I hope that people give them a chance on this album. I enjoyed it. I really think it's a great Say Anything album. I will say again that it's not for everyone. I understand that it is really, really weird at times, but it's definitely worth checking out, at least to see if there is something that you do like on this album. Thank you so much for watching the review of Say Anything's brand new surprise release of I Don't Think It Is. I don't think anybody was prepared for this, but let me know what you guys think down below. I love hearing from you. Did you like this album? Have you listened to it? Do you like the experimentation? Are you just expecting them to sound like Is a Real Boy? Is that kind of, what you're into? What did you think of this album? Go ahead and let me know. Also want to let you guys know that I am on social media. You can follow me on Twitter at Metalloud, as well as Facebook. Like the page on there and keep up to date on the content, as well as there is a Instagram account that I do post regularly to, although a lot of it is just pictures of cats and things like that. So if that's something you're into, you can always follow me on Instagram as well. Again, I love the support from you guys, so thank you so much, and I always look forward to hearing from you.